Hi, everyone.
Hello.
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 Looks like we're already streaming, but we'll get started in a couple minutes. You get 2 minutes? Could you guys hear any of that? Nope.
No, no.
We'll start again.
Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is 4:46 now. This is a meeting of the Howard Go team, where we will follow the agenda that has been emailed to the Go team members and publicly noticed. I would like to remind everyone that this meeting is only for the members. May participate in the discussion. The public may sign up for public comment, which we have at both the beginning and end of the meeting. And how to do that is on the agenda, there is a link to the Google form. And our first order of business is to take roll. And if Hina, you could help us with that.
Of course. All right. Principal Hollis.
Present.
Perfect. Mr. Brooks.
Present.
Dairy.
Present.
Mr. Griggs.
Present.
Dr. Bryant. I saw her. Dr. Bryant. Yeah.
Right here.
We hear
Oh.
you.
Miss Nolan.
Here.
Mr. Langdon.
Here.
Mr. Baker.
Here.
Okay.
Miss Reiner.
I'm here.
Perfect. That's everyone.
Thank you. And we have quorum. The next order of business is to adopt the meeting minutes. Are there any suggestions from the last month's meeting minutes, which we just had a couple weeks ago for the January meeting minutes, the draft? Any changes, suggestions, updates? Okay, not hearing any, I would take a motion to adopt the meeting minutes from January.
I move that we adopt the meeting minutes.
Thank you, Ms. Nolan, and I'll take a second.
I'll second.
I'm sorry, who was that? Thank
I'll
you, Mr.
second.
Baker. All those in favor, raise your hand and or say aye. I see Ms. Bryant, Mr. Baker, Mr. Langbein, Mr. Nolan.
Aye.
Who is that?
Josh.
Perfect. Josh, I see Doug, Jenny.
Yes, aye.
Perfect. And I believe that is everyone. So there is anonymous on that. The next order of business is to adopt the agenda. I apologize. I forgot to do that before that was sent to you. I'll take a motion to adopt the agenda. Oh, I'm sorry. Are there any corrections, additions, anything like that? All right. I'll take a motion to approve the agenda.
I move that we approve the agenda.
Thank you, Mrs. Nolan. And a second.
I second.
Thank
Langbein.
Mr. Langbein. All those in favor say aye and or raise your hand. I see Mr. Baker, Ms. Patel, Ms. Bryant, Mr. Langbein, Mr. Brooks, Josh.
Aye.
Thank you, Josh. Thank you,
Aye.
Jenny.
We can't hear you, Dion.
Sorry. Let's move on. That was unanimous. So let's move on to public comment. Is there any public comments?
There are no public comments.
All right. So we're going to move to the discussion items, which is the budget development presentation from Principal Hollis.
I am in the process of sharing. Give me 1 second. Is it visible? Can you see?
Yes.
Okay. Great. You all have already gone through the agenda and the norms are as published. We are in the Go Team feedback meeting. And this must be completed before the staffing conference. I believe that my staffing conference is on February 27th. As you can see, this is the strategic plan with the objectives that we adopted in the previous meeting. And I have now given the ranked objectives with what I believe is how we're going to address what the objective means. And so that is where we're going to take over our discussion about the objectives. They are ranked. So the first one is to ensure students receive innovative enrichment to demonstrate mastery on essential standards. And I'm sorry, I'm having to let somebody in. Oh no.
It's me. I'm going in a second time because I want to look at it on my screen, but I don't have a microphone.
You're fine. I'm just trying to find the ad.
Sorry.
No problem. Mr. Langbein, do you mind if I add you as a co-host and then you can manage that?
Sure. I can try.
I think I have it. No, I don't yet. Sorry. Here we go.
Okay. All right. So we're going to do that through targeted math and reading intervention classes, combined with our focus on small group instruction and which is our first strategy for all students, all classrooms, embedded enrichment. for all students, including our advanced learners, and ensuring that everyone is consistently challenged. The next one is to utilize an academic universal screener data to drive instructional practices to address struggling learners and gifted students. Map and classroom data drive those flexible groups that we just talked about in the first one. Reteaching and enrichment opportunities. PLCs use the data regularly, weekly, classroom and larger assessment data to adjust instruction. Develop a soft, positive, informed, and engaged school culture. Instruction is grounded in clear goals, actionable feedback, and opportunities for academic risk taking, with an intentional focus on belonging, engagement, and amplifying student voice. Provide consistent two-way communication is our fourth objective. Programming and staffing to keep all stakeholders proactive. Families receive clear communication about supports and student progress. Staffing and master schedules are strategically aligned to meet student needs. Our fifth one is to create an environment that motivates and retains staff members. Ongoing professional learning, coaching, and teacher leadership opportunities are provided. Systems are designed to support collaboration and sustainability. Feedback and action steps are aligned to the Q12 indicators to strengthen engagement and continuous improvement. A strong culture that recognizes with recognition, including both staff and student celebrations. All right. Our sixth objective is build teacher capacity and leadership opportunities throughout cross professional learning communities to meet diverse and social academic needs of students. The PLCs emphasize teacher clarity, data analysis, and effective small group instruction. Shared planning and protected PLC time strengthens instructional consistency across classrooms, supported by SEL and restorative practices training. Number seven, expand opportunities to advance content courses for at least 5% of non-gifted identified students. Increase access to advanced coursework for non-gifted students through the use of map data for student identification. Support systems are in place to build confidence, provide appropriate challenge, and strengthen academic readiness. Number nine, is that nine? Yes. Provide the necessary supports and resources to implement STEAM program. Continue implementing hands-on inquiry-based learning across content areas while ensuring equitable access to advanced coursework and innovation opportunities. Students have 2 vertically aligned project-based learning opportunities and 2 STEAM-based field trips per year aligned to content area standards, along with participation in STEAM competitions such as science fair, social studies fair, tech fair, after-school extracurricular opportunities, authors visits, and partnerships with STEAM-focused organizations like It Girl, Georgia Power, Trees Atlanta. And the final one is to implement PBIS and SEL programming for all students in grades 6 through 8, and that is interpreted by continuing school-wide implementation of behavior expectations and the development of SEL skills to improve climate, engagement, and readiness for all learners. Next, we will look at a way that I strategically tried to use the resources. The focus areas are the objective that we are aligning to. The strategic objective is from that ranked ordering that we just spoke on, and then the amounts and what that entails will be in the how much. So, the first thing we talked about is providing consistent two-way communication with stakeholders, and so utilizing a part-time communication liaison. That would be a new position that we are, or I am considering to add based on the feedback from the objectives. When we look at maintaining or developing a safe, positive and inform and engage school culture, continuing with the security guards, the part-time security guards that we currently have, adding on a residency officer, which is going to be partnered with other cluster schools, which includes Midtown High School and a couple of elementary schools. And then as opposed to an hourly, I need to fix that, an hourly ISS monitor, having one full-time again, while not increasing the number of days that we offer ISS because the behavior has not shown that we need to improve that or increase that, but looking to have extra eyes in spaces to maintain a safe environment. And then this is new this year that we have to pay for the SRO overtime. We actually paid last year, earlier this year, then the district pulled back on the schools having to pay the SRO overtime. And next year we will be asked to do that again. I do want to point out we no longer have the $45,000 security grant from the state that will be held by the district. So that has to come out of my general funds. We already have one SST 504 person. We want to hire, and I would like to hire an additional person. I do not have the funds to hire a second person outright, but to do it hourly, because as we are increasing our number of students at the school overall, that means we also are increasing the chance that we'll have more people that are 504 or have tiered needs, and also adding in an hourly non-instructional para to man the small group testing space, so we can have dedicated space for that, so we can be in compliance for that as it relates to 504s. We currently have a permanent summit. We would like to maintain that for next year. Looking at the second to last row, we currently have master teacher leaders. We would like to shift to make that to instructional coaches, to have primarily the ELA and math focus. Then, of course, professional development, which also includes travel, to build capacity in spaces that teachers are eager to learn in or that we need to improve in. On the next page, you will see things that are more of a continuation of what we already have, which is our administrative team, keeping the number of clerks, a registrar, 3 APs, myself, my secretary, and school business manager. So that is encompassing that. Continuing with the school counselors, one per grade level, the social worker and nurse. We do have a full-time school psychologist, and then the already in place 504 SST specialist that we already have. Again, I was just trying to add an hourly person to add to that space. Our teachers, which makes up majority of our budget, is there. The connections teachers would be in the next row. Special ed ESOL teachers in the next row, and then our media specialists and supplies are in the final row. Again, that's not adding anything on this page, it's just maintaining what we already have. Again, this is still maintaining what we already have. We allocated about 40,000 to instructional supplies last year, software last year. Because of our increase in students up front, we are able to go ahead and supply the instructional supplies amount that you have there. Last year, I think we did less, but then we added it back once we finished leveling. And so this is just giving us the opportunity to supply it up front. Academic stipends, this year we're not doing athletic stipends. The district will pay athletic stipends, so we're only handling academic stipends, which includes department chairs, gifted liaison, grade level chairs. And then it also includes summer PL opportunities that we have school-based every year with our co-teachers and special ed teachers, teachers that want to start planning for our instructional units in advance. That opportunity is funded there. Then we want to continue with our intervention teachers. We do have 1 full-time math now, and we have 2 hourly now, so I'm increasing it to 3, where they will have a focus per grade band. So that'll be a different way of looking at it. Doing 3 is still cheaper than doing 1 teacher hourly. Maintaining our custodial staff. We have 4 custodians currently, and we are shifting next year to a plant engineer versus a site manager because of the size of our building. That was what was recommended by the district. So that costs more, and their overtime is also embedded here. Last year, we did not have to account for custodial overtime, and this year we do. And then, as you can see on the last tab, or last row, the STEAM field trips, which we funded this year, we did ask for families to supplement that, but this pays for the STEAM coach, the field trips, lab supplies for all science classrooms, and materials that they need from a STEAM perspective to keep those PBLs going. So again, the first page was more like what's new, and the last 2 pages is what is proposed. So when we look at the allocations line, just to give the breakdown, you have what is baseline, what I have staffed, and the difference between the 2, and the comments is why the difference is there. And baseline would be if we did not use our flexibility. So as you can see here, again, most of our positions are teaching positions. I think on this page is just teaching and paraprofessionals. What we have done this year as opposed to last year, which doesn't change the number of teachers, it just changed the funding pot we're paying for the teachers in. We have actually earned 20.5 gifted teachers because of the number of gifted students we have and the number of segments that we offer. And that is up like 3.5 positions. So we were able to keep the additions of the additional staff that we added on after leveling those positions will be able to remain. On this page, again, still with using our flexibility, as you can see, some of the things that I referenced before, we do not earn a school business manager, but because of the logistics and management and the size of the building, and it is in our interest to have one. We do earn a bookkeeper. Those duties are kind of split between the school's secretary and business manager. We earn 3 clerks. So the money that I'm saving with the bookkeeper and not having one of the clerks, that allows us to get a registrar. Let's see other things that aren't accounted for. We didn't necessarily earn a STEAM coach this year because of the innovative model that we talked about last meeting, but we decided to keep that position because we're trying to keep our focus on STEAM. And looking at learning through that lens helps us to spark interest and curiosity in students, and we have been very successful in that space. And it also allows us to have somebody that is science-based, since the instructional coaches, remember I said, will be more ELA and math. We do not earn an SST 504 specialist at all, so I have to figure out how to fund that. So that's, again, another flexibility that we're using. The district does not pay for that position. And I think that, and then the residency officer, which I talked about before, just helps us to get to our residency cases faster and not having to go into the queue at the district. Non-staffing tab, what is recommended, what we allocated, and the difference and why is what you'll see on the next slides. So as you can see, we had to hold back or reserve $225,620. So I cannot touch that money. And then the rest is what I've touched. And if it is in red, that means that I've allocated more than what the district recommended. Again, I don't have a bookkeeper, so my secretary has to do a little bit more, and so she needs time to do those things, so that overtime is accounted for there. The teacher stipends, which I talked about before, for summer planning, co-teacher day, summer bridge, we have to pay for those summer bridge teachers. In unit planning, you will see, again, stipends at the bottom of the sheet, and that's talking about the teacher leadership opportunities through gifted liaison and esports. Let's see. I think the rest you can read. Nothing is too that stands out too much. As you can see, we're giving 11,000 in science lab materials and PBL materials, and that's outside of the monies that we're having for all teachers to have supplies. We consistently go slightly above what is mandated by the district as far as the media supplies. As you can see, we're funding $7,000 more than what they allocate or recommended, because we try to keep with what the state recommends to spend per pupil. Then you can see the field trip piece on the second to last line of how much we are allocating in that space. Let's see. We are maintaining a full-time sub, so you'll see that in the in-person permanent sub line. And then the hourly positions that we already discussed, which are is the person for the testing space, someone to help with the 504 SST space, the teachers, the reading teachers, the communication liaison, and security guards. And this is a breakdown of how things are funded. 77% goes straight to the classroom. And we can pause for questions.
Great, thank you. So we can go ahead and start questions from anybody who would like to ask. Okay, I'll start with one, I guess. Principal Hollis, could you go over to, I'd love some more transparency around like the positions and core positions, like grade level, just core classes, and then which ones of those are across the grade bands. I guess we could go there. Like how many teachers we have, because I know we had an increase in the number of students. So what changes have you made in there given our student body changes this year and then expected changes for next year? And then if you could go out about core subjects.
Um, so because our core teachers are also gifted teachers, you can't really go by the numbers that are assigned based on what you see here
Right.
as the accurate numbers. So when you combine the core content teachers and the gifted teacher line, that will tell you how many teachers we have total. And from a core space, not teachers total in the building. So we did add on an additional science teacher to 8th grade, which will remain. So you have 4 math, 4 English, 4 science, 4 social studies in 8th. We added a 2-man team to 6th grade this year. Those students will be cohorting to 7th grade. So 7th grade will have the 4 teams plus that 2-man team on 7th next year. And 6th grade would just have the 4-man teams. And that does not include special ed. The special ed positions are listed below in the gray, which are teacher interrelated. And then the CTAE, JROTC, which is JLC in middle school, all of the elective teachers, except for gifted, those are the connection teachers, and the REP teacher is under connections as well. Only thing that differs from what you see explicitly here is the ESOL. We have one that is pull out and one that is push in. And then the 5 regional spaces are seen at the bottom for MOID, EBD, and autism.
Great. Is there a way that you could summarize that in a slide for us and maybe send it to us just to kind of piece that out so we can see kind of what's going on in approximate class sizes? Thanks. And then you mentioned the gifted and talented. Would you break down to like how many gifted and talented offerings, course offerings are offered in each grade level, each subject as well?
It's not that easy to do because accelerated high school and that such, and then you have your regular classes that I have gifted as well. So it depends on the number of kids um in that cohort of students. So teachers may be gifted certified, but are not accounted for in this space.
Right. Could you just for courses offered, could you kind of piece out the courses that are offered grade level wise and subject wise for that? Like what are the accelerated, what are the gifted, how many courses and sections are offered for gifted ELA in 7th grade, gifted versus on level versus you know, from my understanding, we don't have gifted science in 6th grade, and that equals the option is to take that other Earth, what is it, systems class? So
Mhm.
maybe just a summary slide that says that as well. And were there any additions to any gifted and talented course and or section offerings, given that, last 2 years we've gone up 200 plus kids identified as gifted and talented?
I don't know that I agree with that. We've gone up 200 plus kids. We have increased, but I don't.
I think it
I
was like 4
I
10 2 years ago, and they have us. I looked at the numbers earlier today. I'm sorry, I don't have them. I can pull them up. Fiscal 2 years ago, I guess it was your first year, and now we're up at over 600 for next year.
but the number of kids like the percentage is still around the same percentage. So the number of offerings is just meeting the needs of the kids. So I think percentage wise, it'll be about the same. I can give it to you, but it won't give you information of what's the difference between 2 years ago and now.
So likely same offerings, maybe a few more sections just to keep up with the ratio of more kids with more kids,
Right.
you're saying?
Offer the 2 segments per child that we agreed to.
Right.
As-
So I was just hoping that we could get some transparency around the courses and the sections, how many sections are now added with this student population and how that's changed from last year, given there, I think it's an increase of over 100 students. So I would assume we would have more sections offered.
So we have not built out the master schedule to that level of detail for next year, but I can certainly give you what we have now.
Great. That'd be great. Does anybody else? I'll pause here on my questions.
I'm just curious, like what you couldn't fit in that you really wanted to fit in, or is there like something in the back of your mind that you're stressed about that like the extra hours for overtime took away, or if you feel like good, like you got what you wanted with this budget? And then also, does the foundation help with any of these, like the I know they can't help with anything staff, but like any of the, um,
Foundation.
$40,000, I thought, for like the supply, like the subscriptions and stuff. Do they help with that kind of stuff, or?
They do. They help. Off the top of my head, I want to say it's about $70,000 to $80,000 they help spend on software. Alone, software is expensive because it's per pupil, and as we go up, the cost goes up. I think we fund as a school like IXL, Reading Plus, and one other thing, and foundations funds the rest. And
Does the
your
district cover some stuff like Amplify?
well, we don't have Amplify anymore.
Okay.
So Amplify was the textbook, and so the district does fund the textbook, right? It was just that's the platform that they use. It was called Amplify. So we are in textbook adoption for math and science. So whichever vendor they choose, then that they would be paying for that. The district does fund some software. It has decreased over the years. And we've decreased what we ask foundations to pay for over the years too, just trying to hone in on what is needed, what's not the one-off that somebody just wants, and we're paying for it for everybody and nobody really is using it. So we try to be conscious of that. Is there something that we need? It's a double-edged sword. I mean, because we still have the capacity of number of spaces that we have in the building to give those needs, right? So I don't really know if it is completely oh, I would love to have this. I will say with the upcoming vestibule conversion piece, it would be nice to have a full-time person that sits out there. I will also say that that is going to be challenging because there's no heating, air, ventilation in that space. And so right now, one of the hourly security guards, we did bump up her time to help with that. But in these really cold seasons, like she has a heater, it really doesn't heat up the space for real. So she goes back and forth between the spaces. But to have somebody dedicated to that work specifically would be great. Let's see. Honestly, to have somebody that manages the communication as one person, especially with the new ADA, rules and regulations around how we can put things on the website, the ask for the two-way communication to audit our communication, because that's what their sole purpose is. That would be a great thing to have full-time. With the number of 504 and SST cases that we have, with our numbers increasing as a school, it would be nice not to have to do hourly for that second person. Honestly, you really could support having 2 full-time. Teacher space wise, I think it's been a very long time since we offered a new connections class, but I don't know that we have the building capacity size wise to entertain that per se. And our classroom sizes right now, unless it's like a high school course, those may run 27, 28. The rest are between 20 and 24.
That sounds good, right? That makes you like you're happy with that size, right?
Oh yeah, that's why
Yeah.
we search for those
Sounds great.
additional 3 teachers. I do think that we're going to have, you know, a bit of a challenge as we did when we were looking this year for the 2-man team piece, because they have to be dual cert in math and science or English and social studies or some combination of something. And that can be challenging. But other than that, we work really hard to try to keep those class sizes reasonable. And that doesn't include like chorus and orchestra, because they want more kids in there. It's harder to get the sound if you only had 20 kids singing.
Well, Haas, can I ask you a question? Which I just want to understand. Is there I'm sure there is, but the reason that we're leaving teaching positions on the table here, why we end up
I have
with
to pick.
less?
We have
Uh-huh.
to pick. So either I get more teachers and we have less support staff, or I
Mhm.
get more support staff and then you have more teachers.
I
So
see.
I mean, the money is the money, and Dr. Bracken just got on the call. The money is the money.
Mhm.
So if I get rid of the SST 504 person because that's not funded, then who's going to do the SST and 504 meetings that are needed federally for
Right.
us to be in compliance? If I got rid of the security guards, which are not funded, then who's going to do the bag checks in the morning? If I got rid of the business manager, and all that that person does, who's going to do all that? So
Have
this is this
Yeah.
is a balancing act. Those positions are not funded. The registrar is not even funded, and we're talking about making sure student records are accurate and ready for high school, and it's not a funded position in the middle school space.
You mentioned earlier, I think you talked about ESOL or ESL, that there's one, you're funding one push in and one pull out. Is that the current staffing model, or is that a change?
That's current. We have 2 people now. We've had 2 people since I've been there. I think the year before I came, it was 1.
Okay.
Mhm.
And then I think the email I sent in advance, I'm just trying to make sure I understand, like, where are you intentionally backing away from certain approaches and trying to invest in newer approaches? And I think you referenced something around when you did the walkthrough, that you're doing something by grade next year, which is an evolution or a difference from current. Could you just say a little bit more about what that is and why you're wanting to shift the approach?
The new things that we're doing really have nothing to do with the instructional classroom space. Any changes that I made, I've already made them when I added on the staffing positions over after leveling.
Okay. I thought
Yes.
there was it may have been an intervention role where you're saying next year we're going to do
Yeah.
a 6th grade to 7th. Can you just talk us through if that's a change in approach, and if so, why are you changing
Um,
the approach?
It's really just adding a third person on. This year we have two, and I can get a third one squeezed in there and still be less than the cost of one teacher. Um, and it's just so that person is not rushing to do sixth grade and seventh grade intervention and then do sixth grade intervention with only like 30 minutes prior to getting there. And so when do they have time to go over the data and really plan? And so if we did one per grade level, then they still have, 4 hours a day, but they will have only that 70-minute class, time to have these SST meetings, time to make contact with parents, time to, look into the data and really plan for the students that's sitting in front of them. So it's just a different approach. We'll see.
Got it. So you're
But
moving from,
those are
oh,
no
got it.
pullouts, right? Those are just the connections class.
Um, Actually, with 4 hours, they would have time to possibly look into that. But I don't really recommend a lot of it because then if they're pulling out, they're missing instructional time and content.
You're going to go to an hourly interventionist model for each of the grades, which allows them to also probably plan with the
Well,
counselor and the AP and the,
and reach out to parents. But that's for the ELA space only.
got it. And so math, what's the approach on math? And are you keeping that the same?
That one's staying the same. It's a full-time position and they're there the whole day. If I shift that model, I just think it's harder to find math teachers than ELA teachers.
And that is when you say it's a person, do you mean a person across the 3 grades or a person for each grade right now?
Math is one person, whole school.
Got it. And the way they spend their time is also through connections or pushing across or pull out or a hybrid of all those things.
No, they just do connections.
So how many connect offerings do they offer each grade level each day? So let's say for math.
One per grade level per day.
Okay. And then the students who have those resources or need those resources, visit them how many times a week?
Well, it's connections, so it's every other day.
Okay. And then back to reading, I remember we did something with hourly last year and had challenges finding an hourly staff. And I know in many of the meetings that I've listened to across the district, I've heard the district say we get feedback that hourly staff wants full-time positions because of benefits. And there are lots of challenges leaders are finding to fill hourly roles. And I thought that we had challenges filling those reading specialist roles. So have you found that? Are you concerned about keeping and retaining a staff member there? How has it worked this year?
It was difficult. But I know one of two is very eager to stay. The other person, we had to shift from first semester to second semester, and we're only in February, so I can't really speak on that.
So we don't have 3 current hourly reading specialists. I mean,
Last year's budget only said one, and then pick up the second one, if I'm not mistaken, with leveling, or we said two, but it was only two. So this is adding a third one this year.
but we haven't really seen 2 since the start of school, correct?
We have two.
Since the start of school?
We've had two all
At-
year.
okay. And
One
then
person quit for whatever their confidential reasons are. And so we had to hire a second person, and that person is here and active and rolling.
okay. I just know that what it sounded like there were challenges finding a reading specialist spring to the beginning of this year. And then what I've heard across the district and hourly employees and challenges leaders have found and closing the gap in reading. I'm glad to hear you're going to be providing them hopefully one across every grade level. So I know somebody just asked this question, but I didn't understand the answer. The reading specialist hourly, that's 4 hours a day, 5 days a week.
Yes, but I don't want us to call it specialist. It's a teacher. I
It-
just don't, I mean, from a
I don't, there are
I
different names that are used, so I'm just trying to,
know,
this
I
is
know.
a reading teacher, and we talked about this last year, but what are they certified in? They are certified in middle school ELA, or what is their certification, I guess?
Um, they can be certified middle school ELA. One of our current ones is middle, and the other one is high.
But these are really to support the students that we're trying to close the gap on that are missing some of those early learning skills.
One
So
of them
are
has
they,
taught in elementary space before, and the other one has taught high school.
so are these individuals going through some of that same training that they're doing across the district in science of reading, and then the next expanded section is that the goal that they
We are
get?
not invited to those trainings. That's for elementary space.
Okay. So, and then these are provided in connections or in pull out or in push in.
No, pull out and push in are models for ESOL. So those are two different things. The intervention class is done in connections.
Okay.
What the question was is next year, will it still, since it's going to be a grade level dedicated person, are we only going to do it during connections? At this time, that is what the person is there for. But there could be space where we could expand that, since it is one person for 4 hours for that grade band only, right?
That would just be one period. How many connections do they take each day? One?
One.
So then this reading specialist per grade would only be responsible for one period of kids,
One period, 2 periods of kids, if you're saying in totality, because they get a different person on B day,
but one per day.
one per day.
And then how do they, because they're hourly, how are these individuals? Because I think the staffing meetings and stuff like that, that happens with the grade level teachers and whatnot, like how are they able to communicate with like, how does that work for hourly staff to support the students in this hourly model?
What we've had to do this year is utilize our instructional support spaces and our MTSS 504 specialists to kind of bridge that gap. And that would still be the same. I think one of them actually comes in the afternoon to the faculty meeting, and then we utilize them in the PL days.
Okay. And then the SST, you have one there, and then you're saying you're going to add another half. You're going to buy another half.
Not quite half, but well, it might actually be a little bit more than half, because I think half, I don't know if somebody that's here from the district to support, I think that's 17 hours if it's half, 17.5 or something like that. And I'm trying to do 20.
Okay. What's that caseload for the SST for our school right now?
I'll have to look that up because that's not what I was prepared to talk about. I did talk about it with them yesterday, if you give me a moment.
I'm sorry, you said you talked with this to get input from staff yesterday on what they.
No, I said I talked to the SSC person to get the answer to that question.
Oh, okay.
Currently tier 2 is 23, tier 3 is 19. And that would include behavior, attendance, or math or reading.
So this is for all kids who have 504s, all
No,
kids who have
504s has nothing to do with tiers.
No, I asked what the caseload was for the SST, because you're asking to bump it up.
So SST is its own caseload, and then 504 is its own vehicle. So I answered the question about SST. If you want me to answer the question about 504s, it's 150.
So they're responsible for approximately 200 kids.
Correct.
How do you expect that to shift next year? How many more? You have any idea?
I don't. I mean, because we have eligibility meetings scheduled ongoing, so it's not really a clear-cut answer to that.
Okay.
And then, of course, 8th graders are leaving, 5th, 6th graders are coming. So I can give estimates. I will say that the caseload has been about the same, maybe within 5 or 10 students in the 504 space, the SST space, plus or minus 15, 20 kids. So
Seems unlikely to get smaller.
it seems unlikely to get smaller. I agree, which is why I said we need somebody else to help with that. I will say for the SST space, if the person is tier 3, they have to have 4 meetings a year. I'm sorry, 4 meetings a year, quarterly. So they have to have 4 meetings a year. In the tier 2 space, they have to have 1. 504 space, you have 1, and if the parent asks for more, then you have more. So you're not just looking at the number of students on the caseload, it's the number of meetings, the preparing for the meetings, and all of the
And
rest.
these are not funded based on how many students you have. This is not a funded
It's
position.
not funded at all.
Okay, I was just wanting to clarify that
Yeah, it's
that
not funded at
this
all.
federally mandated item is not funded, meaning not a fixed funded item that like some of the other positions that are with students who have supports.
Yeah, if you look on this slide deck under the required, it says 0.
All right, I have more questions, but I'm gonna allow someone else.
I have a totally random. I feel like this is like ping pong content all over the place. So I appreciate your mental agility of moving from one thing to the other. I just noticed earlier this week that you have there's a parent engagement meeting tomorrow. I'm not sure if you're going to be there or not, Principal Hollis. I assume you might be, but I'm just curious if you is there any possibility that we'll learn something at that meeting, at that parent engagement meeting, that will make you think differently about resourcing?
I don't know.
Okay.
That's a very interesting question, or the way it's phrased is interesting. It is meant to be solutions driven where um pause before I answer this question, because I know Lisa Bracken is not going to be on for much longer on the call. So I want to make sure that any questions that were needed to ask from that space, that we get those questions answered, and then I can go back to answering all the questions.
Questions that you got, Principal Hollis, before I was able to jump on that you want to hand off to me, please let me know also.
Do we have we asked for transparency, Dr. Bracken, around field trips, around engagement activities of the new fees that are being charged schools with SROs and janitorial fees. We've asked for some transportation around anything that's changing with stipends for athletics and some of these security items that are changing. I know that they now have a conveyor belt at Midtown. I think my son said that they're putting book bags through. Some of the vestibule changes and setups, how those will differently be supported by the district.
Yeah, so you're talking about
Yeah,
the 4 or 5 things that the district changed in the allocation model this year.
right. But we have the budget for.
Right. Yep. So field trips, we are coming closer to a recommendation on that one right now. And as mentioned at the previous meetings, those dollars are still available. We did not cut those. It's just how we are managing those. And so the field trips dollars are sitting in a central office reserve account, and we'll be pushing those back out to schools using a similar formula from last year as we continue to work with the transportation department on timely invoicing, because that's an issue. It's less the budget situation, it's how we actually then make sure that the management and monitoring of those budgets throughout the year is effective. And so we are tackling that process.
Is that formula based off how many students you have
Yes,
at your school? So it's a dollar amount per student.
yes.
Okay. And is that increasing with inflation as well, since inflation increases? I know our signature program funds haven't increased with inflation over about a decade, but and don't change based on how many students we have. But is that also increasing with inflation? Meaning, I'm sure your charges are going to be more with gas and whatnot when you're invoicing us. Are you pushing in more funds?
No, we haven't changed the allotment, and I don't know if the chargeback from transportation is changing or not.
And then the athletics.
Athletics, as stated before, at high schools, middle schools and high schools, the athletic stipends are being held centrally, and those will be distributed based on the number of people who are actually receiving the stipend. So we will cover the actual cost of those once we have the submission from the schools about who should be receiving which stipends.
But nothing's changing with that, meaning that schools that have larger numbers of students, meaning
It's based on actuals. So we will pay
actually,
the actual payments for the stipends when somebody receives them. So the school doesn't have to pick up that cost. That's not an additional burden to the school.
okay. My question is that stipend model going to change where schools that have more students will see more supports? I know that one of the KPIs at the district is to have coaches as mentors, and I'm just wondering if that is going to be scaled so that schools that are larger do have the opportunity to have more coaches to accommodate the more students they have.
So this would be that would be a different initiative. This is just the stipends that we pay coaches for the sports that they cover. And so this is a part of this is compensation. And so that piece we have budgeted for centrally and we'll cover once the actuals roll out.
Right. But it's like one per this, one per that.
It's going to be the sports that the school offers. So, and that is, you work with athletics to determine what those sports will be.
Okay. I
And
know
HR determines what the rate is.
many of us have given feedback that a smaller school might have 2 or 3 kids on their team, where a larger school might have 50 kids on a team. And so the coaching should support those differently, but that's not how that model is put up. So I was
Yeah,
asking,
that would be a compensation conversation.
okay. And then security, we used that 45,000. Do you know what are we getting? Is the state giving each school code a security grant again this year? Or did they give another security grant?
The 45 to 47,000 is recurring. So that is coming again for FY27. Our operations, deputy superintendent of operations and safety and security teams have determined to hold that back while they do an assessment, a safety assessment across the district to determine where those dollars need to be placed back into schools. And that is ongoing.
So we're not sure if they're going to ask us for our feedback at schools or the principal's feedback on that.
I don't know. I am positive that they will ask the principal's feedback on that, but I haven't been a part of the planning for that.
And then the engagement fees, there's more, so that's the last one that we keep asking because we have to budget for those things in here. So is there more transparency around the new fees that have been required and any written information?
Engagement fees, I'm not sure what you mean.
So when they put into school dude, from my understanding, we would like to have X event. So for instance,
It's overtime.
I want to have a tall small ball at my school, and the tall small ball, you put in the time, the principal has to put in the time. The district comes back and says you need 4 SROs for that event, and you need 4 janitors. And that is usually is new fees that are large, very large for schools.
So it's not a fee, it's the actual overtime of the employee that's working.
Right.
For the SROs, we're still determining which ones the schools will cover. The safety and security team is referring as doing that. Custodians in the current year, the model shifted, so those custodians do report to the school. And so that would be covering the overtime for the custodians in the same way that you would cover overtime for your school secretary if they have to stay after. So that is the responsibility of the school and the administration of the school when they are determining people's work schedules, if they will be working overtime or not.
Right.
If it's overtime related to like an emergency, so there's like a flood or something like that, that the principal can't be responsible for or can't plan for, then the central office will cover that overtime.
I think the concern is that larger schools are seeing much larger fees. Non-title schools are not,
Not a fee. It's just the overtime for the actual employees that
I
work.
understand that, but we're not, these are new fees that are being pushed down, but we didn't get any additional money to cover these fees. So these are additional costs that schools are seeing that are very large. And then there's some confusion with why should I have an engagement event, and or during the day, I only need 1 SRO for the entire school, but now you're telling me at nighttime when I have an event for that same group of kids, I need 4 SROs, right?
The SROs needs work, and that's why I said we're
So
still looking at that one.
I'm providing you feedback on this, and I hope that we can get some more transparency while we're considering these additional fees within our budgets and how to slate them, since we were not given additional money to cover these new fees that were pushed down to us.
Any other questions?
I have some more for Principal Hollis, if you want to stay on. Principal Hollis, you said
Principal
that
Hollis, you good?
I'm
Anything
good.
else you need me to pull up?
No,
Mr. Langbein has one, I think.
Yep,
Oh,
just
he's
waving. All right. Bye. Thank you so much.
thank you.
Just one for Miss Hollis.
I needed to answer the question unless you want me to put a pin in the engagement question to the end after the vote. Is that okay?
I would like to hear the engagement answer before we take any votes today.
And just to be clear, my question, it's not like a gotcha question or anything like that. To your point, when solutions are being generated, I just know sometimes resources can be helpful, or they can be limiting. So I was trying to see behind your eyes, like what's the connection between solution generation there and resourcing, if there is one.
I am not going into the space with any predetermined anything. I think that it is a great opportunity for us to level set. We have been, since I've gotten here, looking at issues at the school as something that the school needs to handle because of the trust issues that were present when I arrived. I think that everyone has proven themselves to be invested in culture and growth and excellence at the schools. So what we're trying to do is, versus things are so bad, we need to come up with a solution because everyone's disgruntled. We're looking at it more from a things are better. So now we can look at sharing the responsibility and it not just being on our school staff to solve the problems.
Thank you. Could you imagine a world coming out of that where you feel like things are moving in such a positive direction that you don't want to make the investment in that communication specialist, which I think is a new investment for next year?
That is a new investment. I doubt it. I do think that the family engagement survey that was given by the district ranked us. If you look at the rankings of how well the questions were asked favorably, and they'll talk more about that in detail tomorrow. We're at the bottom of all schools in APS, including charter, alternative schools, any kind of school. We were the worst.
For communication and engagement specifically, or you mean in all the questions?
All the questions as a total overall score.
This is the one from parents.
This is the family engagement survey, which could have been answered by parents, students, teachers, whomever, but it's one generated by the district. Now, with that being said, we were at the bottom, but most of our things hit a double-digit increase. And according to what we do with the survey from the state, we're a 5-star school. So there seems to be a disconnect.
Could you send us the data on that, like what all the data points are for that, so we could process what was identified?
Sure. It's gonna be discussed tomorrow, but I can send it.
Ms. Hollis, I just wanted to quickly ask a question before we get to the vote. Thank you for your time and your answers and for your thoughtfulness here with explaining everything. I wanted to ask about we're in a bit of a space crunch in the building in terms of some connections, some classes being pushed in to general education classes. And I just wanted to know how or if your plans thus far and the budget for next year, how that reflected, that situation we're in terms of lack of adequate classrooms.
To answer that question, that kind of goes back to what I was saying before. We haven't added any additional connections classes because we are in a space crunch. In order to keep what we currently have, once I added those 3 additional teachers, that is kind of what pushed that one class to have to float. So the health class is floating. We'll reevaluate to see if we can do anything different next year. We are gonna have to move a couple people around because now that 2-man team is going from 6th to 7th. So there will be some changes in locations. I don't believe it'll be a change in where other people have to float. But
Okay.
we'll might possibly have to float again next year, possibly, but I can't answer that question right now.
Okay.
Trying
Thank
to
you.
get staffing conferences.
Absolutely. Yes. Yep. Of course.
But yes, that is why I can't, in good faith, just say, yes, we should add another connections class because we are limited on space.
Thank you.
And when they come into the spaces, safety and management becomes an issue if you add more.
Swaz, I have one more question too. Last year, I know they changed the way they were funding our signature programs, but as I recall, we had to go ask for the funding. And this year we have nothing. And so we are
We do have something. It's
from
not
teachers,
under, it's
right?
not under, it's not under signature programming anymore. So the funding is not for signature program, it's for innovative programming. So you're able to use it, innovation funds, thank you. You're able to use it however you want. It is not just tagged to the signature program. So it's not that we don't have funds. And yes, you are correct. They did not ask. It wasn't a zero sum, zero base funding, whatever they called it, because I'm not finance. But that's not the approach they took this year. But they did give us innovation funds.
But we don't see them here, right? They're available to us, but we have to
They
ask.
were seen on the first budget slides I gave you the last time when they did the allocations.
Okay, but So is this, I'm sorry if I
You're
managed to miss this, but so the signature program coach is coming from the innovation funds or is coming from creative redistribution of
It is
other?
coming, so all of the money is in one pot. So you don't have the way that they made us do it this year
Mhm.
was for it to come from this separate pot that Diane has giving us the correct words for zero-based budgeting that we did last year. Um, we're not, and we had to fund that pot in isolation, and it was limiting because let's say it was a partial this and a partial that, then it became sticky.
Right.
So they did the innovation fund model this year, and it's all in the same pot. So yes, that position, if keeping it, would have to use that creative funding that you suggested.
Okay. And then may I ask one more question just for clarifying? With the communications liaison position, how how does that work? Where does that person sit and interact?
Parent Center.
Could you give us the job description for that? I know last year you gave us a couple job descriptions um, to help us just better understand what the roles are of that individual. I haven't heard that position before.
Well, you just probably don't recognize it. I'm not sure other people have. They have a bilingual communication specialist at Midtown. Um, this person is not, I didn't choose the bilingual version, so it is just communications. Um, that person, I can give you a JD. I do not have a JD available at this time.
Okay. And then another change you mentioned, which we talked about last year, and I always confuse the two, so I apologize, but I know one of them has a percentage of time that is student, and it actually helped out.
That's the master teacher leader. Mm-hmm.
So, so you had suggested in this budget that we're moving from what to what? Because two
We're
years
moving
ago,
from that to instructional coach.
so master teacher leader, we had one,
We had two.
I'm sorry, we had one last year, just ELA. And then last year we upped it to two, and we had a master teacher leader because I thought it was defined as they could do 50% time with students and 50% coaching time, right? And they had no supervisory role when we looked at the job description. That was really valuable because I know when we had a long-term sub that you had found a great sub for, and the person ended up not showing up, that person pushed in because they do have that 50-50 time. The instructional coaches do not have those times. Is that correct? Because that's what was identified last year to us, and the push to have the master teacher leader because there was such flexibility that they could fill in with teaching and one-on-one and pull out and push in and at all the things.
So instructional coach actually gives us more flexibility. It doesn't have the student requirement. They can still do all the things that you just described, but they're not required to do it. So it is as needed by the school.
So you could make them 100% if we had and I know we've had some challenges with teachers going out on long terms and not having consistent subs, and we've heard from parents about that. So this person could push in and be a long-term sub, or could push in for a couple weeks, for 4 or 5 weeks to provide more stability for these students, because I know that's one of our goals is
That wouldn't be a good use of money, but sure.
providing students with education. I think I hear what you're saying, but sometimes I don't know.
It's not a good use of funds because that means if that person is servicing and helping other spaces and they have to go in to be the teacher in that space alone, then that means those other spaces that you may need that person in will suffer.
So can you give us those two different job descriptions as well? Because I know last year we had a discussion about the differences, and the why this was going to be a master teacher leader and not an instructional coach. And it was to protect that student time, from my understanding, um, to make sure we still had as many positions as possible touching actual students and helping support the teachers in the classroom. I'd like to look over that again, I guess, just to better understand what instructional coach's job is then, I guess.
I have a question, please. Looking at the operations manager position, will that operations manager position work in conjunction with the business manager? Or how does that operation manager fit in with school-based?
Yes, that is, they do, but the site manager that we have now does as well, right? The difference is the operations manager has to have certification in plumbing, electricity, or HVAC work. So they have to have more, they have to be more qualified to do the work.
Proven credential.
Yes.
Gotcha.
And trying to find the answer. So innovative programming, if you go back to our previous slide deck or anything that finance has already put out on allocations, we were allocated $282,924 to the total budget for innovative programming. Was that helpful, Ms. Nolan?
Principal Hollis, what did your staff, when you met with them and talked with them about staffing and budgeting and proposals, what was their feedback on um, any things to consider taking away, any things to consider adding?
I did not have conversation with the whole staff about budget.
I know you guys have two staff days coming up next week, Monday and Tuesday. Is that on the agenda to get some feedback from them on these things?
I have never had a conversation, even at Midtown, with staff about budget. What we have is a conversation about staffing, what additions we're adding and how it impacts their work, but I've never been on the staff that went over this budget presentation with staff.
Is that something you would be open to getting their feedback on what challenges that regarding positions or whatnot and engagement? I know some of the principals in our cluster have done that and reported out, and I was just wondering, and some of the other clusters, I was wondering if I think that would help too. I really appreciate Mr. Langbeans. I didn't realize that we were already in the position of we're floating teachers to class.
One teacher into one class is not floating a bunch. And I mean, we can also pivot and not offer health and just do PE, then we wouldn't have to float at all. Diane?
So, that's part of the role of the Go team and why we have the representation. Is, we have 3 staff representatives on the team who can help bring in the voices of the rest of the staff. So, hopefully the staff knows that they can go to their representatives on the Go team and have voiced anything already, or so there is kind of that avenue for the staff to give their view on how this is on this.
I think that's a great
that's
idea. Is that something that we can incorporate on Monday and Tuesday where staff could come and talk? Now, because we just got this presentation and the update last night. So I don't know if it's online where staff has been able to review it. And so I'm sorry, hold on one second. Could Miss Nolan and Mr. Langbean and Dr. Bryant offer office hours or an office time next week where they could get some feedback and maybe we could get in the spirit of engagement and some of the things we've seen on the KPIs, could we get some of that feedback on what's working, what we would like to see, what we might be able to shift? I've seen other principals in the district do this in the last month, and report out on it, in a collaborative way. And we have that meeting tomorrow night, which Mr. Griggs I think that's a great suggestion, is I would love to have that feedback tomorrow night. Is that something you would be open to, Principal Hollis?
They have open time on PL days, every PL day. So they have the opportunity to offer whatever office hours they would like anytime. What we do is engage our staff in scheduling. We talk about the master schedule, how we would like to shift classes. We have talked to them about doing a more innovative scheduling model. So I think that is where that space is done, or those questions are answered. But they are free to communicate office hours. I've never stopped them from sending an email to all to ask for time to do whatever it is outside of the prescribed professional development lessons.
Great. I don't know. Would you guys be open to that, Mr. Langbein and Miss Nolan and Dr. Bryan, maybe getting together and proposing something for us?
Can I understand specifically the goal? I'm not opposed to it. Are we looking at reviewing this, or are we looking for innovative solutions? Are we looking to bring forward other ideas? I just want to make sure that I understand what we are discussing with staff.
Um, I just think what I've seen in some presentations is just feedback on where some of the challenges are, where some more support is, what should we reconsider? I mean, it's like two questions, right? What should we reconsider? Maybe what should we consider? Um, in the spirit of some of the KPIs that we have in staff engagement, really making them feel their voice is valued and part of this process. Um, I would love to hear more.
I want to first off say that we do value employees' voices, and I do give them an opportunity to speak out. We have multiple times where we ask them, what should we stop doing, start doing, and continue to do. We ask them for innovative ideas with dealing with some of the problems that's happening at the school and to be a part of the solutions, and they can speak more to that. But we do involve them and hear their voice and have them a part of the solutions. It is not a draconian type experience where I am telling them what to do. We often ask them for opportunity or ideas to solve the problems that exist at the school. Dr. Bryant, Mr. Langbein, and Ms. Nolan, if you can speak to the problem of practice sections that we do have, it is not necessarily about how many people we should staff, but about what we're doing with, or what our needs are, and having that input does drive decisions after that conversation. But if you all do not mind lifting how we do the problem of practice and talk about what we do to solve the problems, and even ask you all what the problems are that you see from your perspective.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. I'm glad you mentioned that, Ms. Hollis. That does happen. Those conversations are being had, uh, uh, with admin, teacher to teacher, admin to teacher. beginning of the school year and end of the school year. We do a lot of reflecting, a lot of talking, and it happens at various points throughout the school year. As I recall, the last 3 years I've been here, I'm not sure there's a need really to go beyond what we're doing already. We're having those conversations. I feel like we're being inclusive and proactive in what we're doing.
Do remember a time when we were asked about a schedule, and I think that we had the majority of the staff responded favorably to the schedule that we currently have now. We were given the opportunity to look at the schedule, the master schedule, before it was sent downtown or anything like that. So I do recall that being done here at Howard.
I agree with that. I mean, to me, there are certainly some times when I feel like staff might be willing to bring things forward to staff that they're less comfortable bringing forward. But other times, I think they will bring those things straight to admin. So I think we can do whatever we need. If there are requests for opinions or additional thoughts on ways to do things, we can gather that if that's helpful and bring it to you, Ms. Hollis.
And I give you all, 1.5 to 2.5 hours on PL days. I'm not opposed to y'all having office hours. I don't dictate what y'all do during that time. We give y'all suggestions. So that's kind of up to you all.
Um, I, I like the feedback. Diane, I agree with you that, there are elected and appointed members, both from family and staff on here. The setup is kind of challenging because we're given the budget, but we don't have this discussion. And then have engagement or get feedback. Does that make sense? So it's a little bit backwards. So I haven't had a chance to hear from families and or staff about budget and positions and whatnot, and what they think in a proactive way, because we're just getting it right now. So unfortunately, I haven't had that opportunity personally myself. I don't know how I would, given that we just got it and are just now having the discussion. So that's why I proposed we're having some sort of engagement tomorrow night, and you have PL days. So I appreciate you being open to that. Other questions? Principal Halls, did you need to finish? Did you already go over that last slide? Did you want to continue?
I was looking for the unmute button. The last slide is just what is suggested as items that we would use the leveling reserves for. Again, I would prefer not to use it for teaching staff. And this is if we hit the projected enrollment numbers of 1,221 students. There have been questions about a parent liaison, so I said that might be a space where that could go if that is what we glean from the information in the meeting tomorrow night. And just some other things that are listed there. Nothing that is different from what we normally do. One of the things is adding an additional permanent sub, especially since with the post-COVID, it seems like there is no flu season anymore. Those things can happen all year long. So having someone on staff permanently that is available to deploy whenever we have a sick employee, a second person. Um, and that's all I have. We've already talked about the trade-offs and all of the other stuff. And so now, since the discussion has concluded, it is for you all to vote.
So we have a tentative secondary date scheduled between now and Principal Hollis's deadline. Principal Hollis, do you want to go to that, the stair step? This one. So you said your meeting was on the 26th, is that correct?
I don't know if it's 26th or 27th, but it's around there.
Okay, and that's the deadline. So we tentatively have a meeting scheduled with quorum on the 23rd. If we wanted to get some more information, see if we did get any feedback from staff on the PL day, see what we did here. To Josh, Josh brought up the meeting tomorrow night. Get some, hopefully some more information from Dr. Bracken on some of the items that we brought to her. Then we would do a motion to table potentially and then vote on it after we get that information. So that is what I'm going to call for a motion to table until the 23rd.
I think that we should call for a motion to vote first. And if it doesn't pass, then we should do the motion to table, since that's what was asked for in the slide deck, or that's what this meeting was for. If people don't want to have this continue, or rather table it.
I understand. I'm
sorry, I was
called
still
for a motion to table. So there is a call for a motion on the books right now.
So I just want to make sure that all the other Go Team members understand exactly what's being asked here. When you table a motion, that's, you just kind of like put a pause on it, and then you would come back to vote on it later. This is a decision of the body. So if you are comfortable moving forward with the decision on this draft budget for Principal Hollis to take this to staffing conference, then if you vote no to the table, then you all could move forward and somebody could make a motion to vote on the draft budget, and then that would be that. So I just want to make sure that y'all understand this is the decision of the body, and you need to you have a choice as to, you can vote to table if you feel that you all need more time with it, or you can vote that down and vote to approve it. So it's whatever you feel is in the best interest of your conscience and the community. Does anybody have any questions about that parliamentary procedure part? Nope.
Yes, we just remind people that last year they felt that they could not have a decision in this. So that is why I'm educating individuals based on what I heard in today's meeting, and some requests for some more information. So as I said, I appreciate that you pointed out that people can vote down, Ms. Jacoby, the motion to table, should we even get a motion. So
In terms of parliamentary procedure, I feel like this is where I have no expertise. Where is there space for conversation about the motion? Does it need a second in order to have a conversation about the motion, or can we?
So generally, yes, that's the way it would go, is that what a second is for a motion. So somebody brings a motion, and what a second is from a parliamentary standpoint is that somebody else at the table feels that the motion is worthy of discussion. If you are holding strictly to parliamentary procedure, you don't have any discussions without a motion on the on the floor. So if somebody feels that, so the motion's been made to table this. If somebody seconds the motion, then you're saying that I feel it's worthy of discussion. You don't necessarily have to vote for it. You just say, I think it's worthy of our time to discuss. The team would then discuss and then take a vote. If you don't think that a motion, like, let's just say somebody made a motion that I want to spend time talking about the flowers in the flower bed. That's not within your purview. It's not probably worth your time. So if nobody seconds it, then the language is the motion dies for lack of a second. So I hope that helps, Josh. Does that clear that up a little bit for you?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is there a way to get Boyd back on the meeting? He had said something to be alerted if there was going to be a vote. Is there a way to can we contact him possibly?
I didn't know he hopped off the meeting.
I think he put it in the text. I will second the motion so we can have a discussion.
Thank you. So I have a first from myself for a motion to table today's budget to allow more time for Go team members to process what we were just given and get some more information with a meeting on the 23rd that you guys, the quorum has suggested that they can make. So we will have a discussion on the motion. Josh, did you want to talk? Do you have some questions?
Oh no. I mean, I can. I think I just forgot to put myself back on mute. I don't have any concerns about the proposed budget. I do think like timing is just difficult of like Principal Hollis, my understanding has got her template Friday. And then we got this today. So yeah, I don't have concerns about the direction of the budget. I also would be fine attending another conversation. I think my availability when I filled out the calendar was I could come to everything except the 25th. But I know that might not be possible for everyone. And I don't remember what Principal Hollis's availability was. I do think it would be important for her to be able to attend a follow-up conversation if we were to try and have one. And
Principal
so,
Hollis gave the dates.
okay.
I do have availability. I do think it will limit me. But if we table, which is fine, it's just preparing for the staffing conferences is delayed because I can't prepare until I know where we stand.
Can you share
your
a
choice.
couple more sentences about how it will limit you? Because I don't want to do that. I don't want to limit you. I just want to understand how we'd be limiting you.
Yeah, I mean, it is just I have to prepare for rationale that goes with any changes we're making for staffing and preparing for the conversations that I have to have with staff members that will have changes in their life. And so because we just have a lot of things going on and yeah.
Miss Hollis and Diane, this is more a question for you guys. I believe, and you guys can verify if this is true, that other schools did table last year and were able to go to the district and ask for additional funds. And I think there were one or two schools that did receive a large amount of extra funding after they tabled this. So first off, would it be worth it to receive extra funding, or would that even be a possibility?
I'm not certain that they were actually received extra funding. I can't speak to that. I can speak to we did have a meeting, even though we voted for the draft, we still had a meeting and we were given access to the reserves, we were not giving extra funds. So I think that I just want to point out like the difference between the wording, that the funds are there if in the event, instead of getting the 82 extra students that we received, if we would have not met the enrollment projection amount, the amount that I did go over in reserves, then we would have had to figure out how to handle that. Even though I think the district decided this year it was some hold harmless pieces, but you don't know that until you're in the middle of it. But it is completely up to you all. I mean, I'm tasked with doing whatever the board decides. So don't let me stop you from doing however you want to vote.
So
I-
just really quickly to answer that question. The under the Go team's purview is to vote on the draft budget. So not it is the school board's role to decide how money is allocated to schools. It is the Go team's role to decide if the money that you've received is being spent appropriately. Now, that being said, no individual ever loses their right to advocate on behalf of whatever they feel is important, right? And so last year that was part of what those other individuals did. But right now, the question on the table is, are you going to table the vote on the draft budget? It should not be necessarily connected to the question of, are we happy with the allocation? Because the Go team does not have any decision involved in that allocation. That's a board decision. So, we don't want to stop the process as it is. Now, if an individual
Diane,
wants to advocate.
I'm just going to say something right now as chair. Last year, there was a portion here that people felt that they had to vote away. So I'm going to say again the motion that is on the table. The motion on the table, and that is seconded, is to table the vote because we are waiting to get additional information that regarding engagement, additional engagement fees that are being added onto the principals' budgets across the district without giving additional fees this year. And there isn't full transparency around that. You can hear that in the CAP meetings. Principals are asking for more transparency around that so they can plan more appropriately their budget to know how to allocate things. We have a couple outstanding items with Dr. Bracken. I think she answered the transportation, the security. We're still waiting to hear what they're going to do with that. The other thing that we were going to do, Mr. Griggs brought up the value and importance of the feedback that we would receive tomorrow night from a concern. We have as Principal Hollis said, the lowest score across the district. I think it's important, even more so right now, that we are engaging our community and listening and getting their feedbacks when we are adopting the budget or giving feedback or suggestions on staffing and approving a budget. So that's the motion on the table. To get that information, have it come together, have a conversation, and vote on the budget on the 23rd, the date that the survey Principal Hollis put out, individuals said they could do. So does anybody else have any questions or concerns or comments? So,
Sorry, Dion, last thing.
sure, no
So
problem.
we are hoping for all these open item questions that are still not answered, that we would have these answers by
The
this
26th.
next meeting. Okay. And if not,
Then what we have to do is we have to talk with Principal Hollis. She has her meeting on the 26th, 27th. The vote comes and the same process happens. We make a motion for an action to happen, right? Someone's going to make a motion for an action to happen. So I can't say what that action is going to be, right? So I don't know who is going to make that motion or what that motion is going to be, but there will be an action on that budget item with the hopes that we can get more information and see a budget that we're all comfortable with, or the quorum is, and can vote it through with Principal Hollis's deadline that she has. Does that make sense?
It does. I'm just thinking next week's winter break. I mean, it's just not a lot of time. And then I guess what I'm hearing from Diane too is the allocation is not what we're voting on, the allocation, not so much how much money we're getting.
The allocations did change for schools last year.
The vote, my allocations did not change.
No,
Now, I can't
I'm
speak
talking
to,
about the one that allocations did change last year. Schools did vote down budgets, schools did table budgets, and then came back to the table after they had conversations with Dr. Bracken, with their principals, got more information, and then they did the same thing. They came back to a second date, set a second meeting, and they had an action item, which ultimately for those schools was to vote to approve the budget, and they approved the budget.
I did not receive additional allocations. So the vote that is being asked today from the Go Team's perspective is, did I use the allocated money in the ways that we have said strategically from our strategic objectives were in the best interest of staff, students, and community? That's what you're doing when you vote on the draft budget. It is not it is not guaranteed that I will have any of the questions other than job descriptions, the courses, the number of courses, number of gifted courses, number of students, the names, and whatever communication comes out of the engagement conversation tomorrow, which has nothing to do with budget, it has everything to do with the trends of the questions that were asked. And myself in the family engagement office and are hosting that. So I don't want to sway votes anyway. I just want to be realistic and honest in what the vote is and the fact that we did not get any additional funds last year.
We approved the budget last year, the draft budget, so there was no additional conversation. Again, the motion on the
There
table.
was additional conversation. Me and the chair from last year did meet with Lisa
We did
Bracken,
not.
and that is why we were able to get access to the reserves. So we access more funding. We did not get more of the pie from APS.
Correct. The Go Team at large did not have additional conversations because we approved the budget. So the motion on the table is not, did Principal Hollis do her job? So does anybody else have any questions or concerns? Or would like to discuss about the motion that's on the table? Okay, so I will call for all those in favor of the motion to table the budget till the 23rd to allow time to get more information and process what we've seen tonight. All those in favor? Okay, I see 4. All those against? Josh, I'm sorry, I can't see your hand, so you're going to have to just come off mute when you're voting. All those against the motion? Dr. Bryan, I saw your hand up before, and now I see your hand up. I saw it 4. Okay, so Ms. Patel, I see yours against the motion. And abstentions?
I was going to abstain.
All right. So we have 4 to motion to table the budget till the 23rd, 1 against, and 2 abstentions. Principal Hollis, did you want to continue with your principal's report? Is it at 6:37? So we did say that we would
I can't. I have to get my kids to soccer, and I've already gone beyond the 90 minutes that we agreed upon. I'm
I
sorry.
was just saying. So, if everyone's okay with it, we agreed to 6:15. We could either motion, which we said we would do, to motion to extend, or if we're all in agreement, we can go ahead and abridge the agenda tonight and adjourn the meeting. Are you all in favor to adjourn the meeting? If so, I will take a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion that we adjourn the meeting.
Thank you, Ms. Nolan, and I'll take a second. Thank you, Ms. Freiner. All those in favor say aye to adjourn the meeting. Myself, Ms. Bryant, Ms. Patel, Mr. Langbein, Ms. Nolan, Ms. Reiner. All those against and abstentions to adjourn the meeting.
I support adjourn.
Okay, thank you. So that is unanimous. So we are going to adjourn the meeting at 6:38, and we will send out a reminder for the 23rd at 4:45 for the meeting.
Is the meeting on the 23rd in person or virtual?
I think we can talk about that. That wasn't in the survey that you sent out, so I didn't know if you had any preferences on what you had around that. I know I got feedback that people do enjoy the in-person meeting. So if that's something that people can make, but I know that was not in the survey. So maybe we can put that out and just ask people, but they could always meet virtual.
I mean, we're here now. Can we just type it in the chat or something as opposed to having another email?
So I see, Ms. Nolan, you said that you can do either. I can do either as well. Josh can do either. Ms. Bryant, you're saying you can do either?
Mhm.
Okay, Mr.
Mhm.
Langbein can do either. Jenny Reiner.
I'm probably could do either.
Okay, you can always stop. And Ms. Patel, you said you can do either. Okay, so we'll do it in person with a virtual component. 4:45 on the
I
23rd.
cannot do 90 minutes in person on this extra day because my kids are actively in soccer season. Okay?
Do you
Thank
like
you. It can't be for 90 minutes like it normally is, or go to 6:30 because I have parental obligations, is what I'm saying.
Would you like to send us your availability for the 23rd?
We can do in person. I need it to end within 45 to 60 minutes. I can't do another 90 minutes and then do it again the next week for the other meeting on the 3rd.
We may
Is
not
what I'm
do
saying.
that meeting. So,
We
okay.
have to have the next meeting because that's the meeting I need before we go to HR posting the positions to board. That meeting is already scheduled.
Okay, wonderful.
Thank you.
Perfect.